episode of Line for Line podcast, barely watched podcast featuring Lester Wiltfong Jr. Lester, how you feeling on this Saturday?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Halloween just happened, so it's always a crazy time here on Halloween. Our neighborhood is like packed. Like we get like so many kids over here. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's spooky season, right? It's even spooky
Yeah.
season for the Bears after that nasty loss as well too against the Ravens. But to the Bears' defense, Lester, 5 in a row. That's a pretty tall order. You gotta expect some losses in there soon, as opposed for them to just keep rolling on and just rolling through everyone. Granted, the other team didn't have their starting quarterback, things of that nature. It's still a pretty tall order to win 5 in a row. What do you think about that, sir?
Yeah, we talked about it last week. We both thought the Bears should probably win if it was
Mm-hmm.
Huntley playing, and but we also talked about how that's a good team. I mean, the Ravens, they're not a one-win team, even without Lamar Jackson in there. Very well coached. I think we talked about Harbaugh's record out of a bye week is like 13-4.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows how to have his team ready to play after a bye. They were coming off their bye. They were desperate, man. I mean, if they would have lost that game, that probably would have doomed their season because it's tough to come back from that. But they're 2-6 now. They needed that win. They got it,
Mm-hmm.
and they played desperate. I mean, they outplayed the Bears in all phases, right? I mean, offense, defense, special
Yes.
teams, coaching. These things happen, right? So let's, the Bears will learn from this, and they'll move forward and be ready for Cincinnati this week.
Now, taking it back to that Baltimore win, Lester loss. Excuse me. What were some things that you saw from Caleb's game that just wasn't able to transition into positive yardage, touchdowns, and a win at the end of the game?
Yeah, there was some red zone issues. That's what's been kind of happening, right? I mean, if you look at the analytics, right, the Bears are one of the best teams in the NFL at scoring when they get in the red zone.
Hmm.
Problem is, they're getting too many field goals, right? They're not getting a lot of touchdowns. They are turning their drives into points, but you got to start getting touchdowns. And Ben Johnson owns some of that, right? In this press conference, said he
Hmm.
didn't like some of his play calls down there. On the sack Caleb took on third down, he had Kyle Monangai wide open, but Theo Benedict gave up the pressure just way too quick. I mean,
Hmm.
if he would have had a split second longer, Kyle Monangai popped out right over the middle, wide open, but it would have been a walk-in touchdown. So sometimes there's a player breakdown somewhere. Sometimes it's a scheme thing, and sometimes Caleb just not making good decisions. I think he's watching live. I'm like, man, this is a bad game, right?
Hmm.
Going back and rewatching it, he didn't make as many mistakes as I thought. The interception was terrible, and he
Yes.
owned that. Ben Johnson talked about it. He should have hit his guy in the flat. He kind of forced it. He didn't think the corner would jump the route, but like these things happen. That's like his fourth pick this year. He only threw very few
8.
last year. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
8
like
last year.
that's not a part of his game where I'm worried about.
Hmm.
He'll learn from that and he'll press on.
Yes, sir. See, now I'm glad that you bring that up because that's some things that a lot of fans they'll see it live and they'll be like, "Oh, throw the ball!" or "Man, what is he doing? He's holding on to the ball too long." And I'm glad that you brought up the Kyle Monangai pass where Roquan was drifting back to cover the receivers on that play, and if Caleb would have threw it to Monangai at the time he did, it would have been an incomplete pass because at that point Monangai had not had his head turned to his quarterback to let him know that he was open. And like you said, Theo Benedict gave pressure way too early, so that caused Caleb to run out to his right. And at that point, he would have been thrown across his body. It would have been an ugly play. Versus a couple other plays, like where they're in the end zone as well too. And Chase Daniels, I love his channel. He breaks these plays down for us who like we're so fast watching it game speed. We don't really get to see the actual breakdown of what happened because a couple of those plays, all of the routes were covered, and it's like what do you want Caleb Williams to do here? And he was still making positive yardage in plays like that. But it's like, do you want him to try to keep being Superman and throw more interceptions, or do you want him to take the sack or throw the ball away where everything's covered? It's like a scary thing as a adamant Bears fan where I see it game speed and I'm like, oh, you need to throw the ball, but then you see the breakdown, you're like, well, who is he going to throw the ball to?
Yeah, like you said, a lot of times it's an awkward throw, like he's running and he's got a guy you can throw to off balance.
Hmm.
Sometimes there's a guy in the passing lane. It just doesn't make sense for him to kind of take a chance there. Look, there are times when he has to take a chance and he has to try and make those passes. But, for the most part, like I said, through his 1.5 years in the NFL, he's
Hmm.
been pretty smart with the football. He knows when to take a sack. He knows when to throw it away. And he knows when to get out of bounds. He just had a few mistakes that kind of were elevated because, of course, the Bears lost. The slide at the end of the half was kind of rough. He said he should have got out of bounds. But like I said, some of it's on the play calling. I don't think it was
Yeah.
the best way. And the play at the end of the game where he had DJ Moore who kind of settled down instead of kept running. Caleb thought he would run. DJ kind of settled.
Hmm.
These are like miscommunications that you don't want to see it, especially in year two of Caleb, and especially in a new offense. But it's going to take some time, and they're still 4-3. They're in a pretty good place. Like I said, no one expected a championship this year. We just want to see nice growth, and Ben Johnson's happy with what he's going on with his quarterback.
At this point, Lester, would you say it's positive growth that we are experiencing from the Bears? Before I'll let you finish that, because like I said, you get one loss like this after you've just won four in a row. Now everyone, oh, the Bears season is over. Oh, Caleb's not the guy. Yada yada. The case may. What do you think about that, sir?
Nah, he's doing fine. I see a lot of the people come up and say, "Oh, his time to throw is still too high," right?
Hmm.
And 2 weeks ago, Ben Johnson addressed it. He was asked this question by a beat writer. Hey, he's one of the longest quarterbacks to hold on to the ball. And Ben's like, "Is he? I didn't even notice." And the reason is because he's not holding on to the ball when it's a bad play. He's holding on the ball when he has to make a play. And the thing you look at when it's those time to throw and it's always out there, everyone talks about it, is his sack to pressure rate. Is he taking sacks on these plays where he's just scrambling for no reason? No,
Hmm.
he's scrambling for a reason. He's trying to make plays. And look at how many times has he missed on the run this year, right? Where he just a
Yeah,
little off, or the receiver dropped the ball. If when these plays start cleaning up, and these are, because this has been a strength of his game in the past, I think it's gonna be fine. And look, Ben Johnson's content. The way the game script has gone the last few weeks, it hasn't really been there for him to throw, 40, 50 times a game. And
hmm,
it may not ever be. I mean, that's what Ben Johnson wants to do. He wants to run the ball. He wants to make sure everything is good with his offense. And I got no issues with Caleb right now or Ben. I think the Bears are on a good path right now.
of course. Now, taking it back to that, what should have been a OPI against DeAndre Hopkins on the Sean Wright, where he grabbed the guy's face mask and pushed him off. Let's say it would have been called, Lester. Does that change the game for the Bears and the Bears go out with the win, or would it have just been a call that they got in their favor for once?
Yeah, but would have had an impact a little bit. I'm not sure how much it would have helped because, like I said, the Ravens were, man, they were ready to play that game. I mean, they came
Mhm.
out there. The game plan on both sides of the ball was strong. The Bears hit them early, right? The Bears came out there quickly, two nice scoring drives, and a veteran team, veteran coaching staff. They didn't waver, right? They kind of just look, we're fine. We took their shot, and now it's our turn to counterpunch, and that's what they did. So I don't think it would have mattered. It sucks because there's been so like I don't want to blame it on things on the refs. I hate being that guy, but there's been a lot this year, right? Where you're
A
like,
lot,
that's some
a
stupid
lot, a
stuff right
lot.
there.
Yeah, yeah. Also, that call that people were all pressed about against Joe Tooney, he actually did move. If, like I said, if you go back and watch the breakdown, which a lot of fans don't do, they're just so used to seeing it game speed and say, "Oh, that's a ghost call." No, he actually did move. He moved his hips, so that should have been a call against him. So that they were right for that one, and myself included, didn't see it game speed, but once you get to the breakdown, you see it. You see it.
Yeah, these things happen. That's why it's always good to kind of go back and rewatch when you can, or kind of find people. You talk about Chase Daniel. There's other guys. Kurt Warner, Brian Balding. There's some guys in the media that do really good work that you got to find the guys you trust, and there's other guys that they don't. They kind of still push their narratives. They still kind of
Mhm.
push Caleb's got to get rid of the ball. He's taking too many sacks. Like people who still say this, even though this year is not true, you look at his sack numbers, they're ridiculous. So it's like he's getting much better than that, but people still say the same old narrative because that's what they're used to. So yeah, you find people you trust in the media or in social media, follow them and interact with their takes because there's some trolls out there.
Defense, they've are you there? Sorry, my thing might
I'm
have just
here.
frozen up. Okay, yeah.
You got it.
So
You got it.
for the defense, Lester, we've been really, really thin, especially at the secondary position. They brought in CJ Gardner Johnson. Does that bolster the defense, or is that just a guy to help fill in? What do you think about that?
He is a guy that played 16 games last year for the Eagles, won a championship with the Eagles, was a key contributor for the Eagles as safety. He's played nickel a lot in his career. He was traded to the Texans in the offseason. He started for them, right? 3 games. He made a pretty good impact. For whatever reason, they wanted to go a different way. Look, CJ Gardner Johnson is we know he's kind of an asshole, right? That's kind of what
Mhm.
he is. That's how he is on the team. He's kind of got that reputation. And the Texans decided to make a change, and they cut him. The Baltimore Ravens picked him up. He was in a practice squad for a minute. They let him go. So I think he fits a Bears need perfectly because he does play nickel. He has played nickel for Dennis Allen's defense in the past with the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to help this team, especially with Kyler Gordon out. For 3 more weeks at least. He's a guy that can kind of step in and know what he's doing. And look,
Mm-hmm.
he's very chippy, right? He's going to be chippy, but look, we're Chicago fans, right? We all remember what happened when Dennis Rodman came to the Bulls. We hated
Yeah.
him for the longest time, but when he's doing that for your team, you embrace that. So if he's able to be chippy, control himself, where he's not getting in fights and drawing flags, but just annoying the other team, that's fun to have on your defense.
Yeah, I saw someone say we don't need any more choir boys. We need some straight dogs on this defense too. I was like, I can get behind that. I can get behind that. I could get behind that.
It's
But yeah,
football, man. I mean, it's not. It's like you said. It's not all. It's a violent game at the end of the day, right? So if you
hmm
got some guys that are able to do that, and I mean, now you got him, right? You got Brisker's always chirpy, right? So you got a few guys in that secondary, and even they talked about it in practice this week. Just getting CJ Gardner Johnson there, it elevated the intensity of the defense. So they're seeing it happen in practice. It's going to translate to the game. So I'm excited to see him play. I mean, look, I've never liked him as a player because of obviously all the stuff he did, the antics, the fight with the Bears in the playoff game. But he's in Chicago now, so it's going to be fun.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've been hit by the injury bug, young man. Seriously, we got DeAndre Swift gonna be out with that groin injury, which you could kind of see in Baltimore that he was not 100%. You got Roshan Johnson dealing with that back injury. You got our receivers were banged up for practice, right? Is Luther Burden a go, or is he still in concussion protocol? Which obviously you can't just get out of that easily.
Yeah, he's still concussion. He's really the only receiver that's not going to play. DJ's playing, Rome's playing,
hmm
Zacchaeus is playing, so they're going to be pretty good there. Cole Kmet is back this week, but like you said, they are missing Swift, and Ben Johnson said that at some point they may have to shut him down just to protect the player because he wants to play, right? He wants to play through
hmm
it, and he has played through it, but so shut him down, man. The Bengals stink at stopping the run. I think they're dead last, right? So
hmm
you'd be okay with them getting that. And my dogs are going nuts. I apologize,
You're
but
okay. It's a live show.
but yeah, you got the Kyle Monangai, man. I mean, I think he'll be fine. Maybe some
Travis
Travis
Homer.
Homer. They probably bring up Britton Brown, who had a nice preseason. Who's he's a running back. He's fine, but
hmm
it's all about the scheme, man. It's the scheme is good. The O line is good. I think they're going to be able to run the ball against the Bengals.
So should we? Okay, so you saying we should be able to run it? So we won't see a pass heavy game then. We will see like a mix and match.
Look, so the Bengals are the worst team and they have the worst rush defense in the game, right? But they have like
hmm
the second to last worst pass defense. The Bengals defense is bad this year. And
hmm
then they may be without Trey Hendrickson, who's probably their best defensive player. If
hmm
he doesn't go, man, I mean, the Bears should have their way. But yeah, if it was me on the road, nice crisp fall weather, I think you run the ball. I think you establish the run. I think you see what you can get with Monangai, who is a physical runner,
hmm
and let the play action kind of chips fall off that. And look, even during this time where fans say, "Oh man, Caleb Williams is struggling," he's still one of the better quarterbacks that are creating explosive plays. So he's been
hmm
getting the ball downfield pretty good this year, which was a weakness last year, right? There wasn't a lot of deep throws last year, but he's been pushing the ball downfield this year. So yeah, I think you're going to see a pretty run heavy game because last week they didn't.
hmm
The O line's going to get lathered up, and I think it's going to be fun. I think the Bears win this game for sure. Even though
What?
Joe Flacco's playing, come on, man, it's the Bengals stink. Their defense
But
is
they got
bad.
Jamar Chase and T Higgins though.
They
What?
are very good. I think the Bengals will get theirs. Flacco will get his.
Uh,
But at the end of the day, I don't think they can stop the Bears because that's a bad defense.
Les, are you come man? You can't be getting my hopes up like this because, like I
I
said,
know.
like I was kind of one of those guys. Once we lost to the Ravens, I was like, is that where we start to drop off a little bit, or obviously, like I said, you can't win them all. It was just one loss, but I was like, is that the start of like the dip where we dip down to bounce back, or? But you think we can pull this off in Cincinnati on the road?
Yeah, I think they can. I mean, I picked them before I knew Flacco was going to be out. They thought he'd be out, then he's back. So in my prediction article, which should be coming out later today, I said I don't care who the quarterback is. I mean,
hmm
look, I like Joe Flacco. This Joe Flacco story has been awesome,
hmm
but he's still a 40-year-old quarterback. At this point in his career, he's kind of up and down. At some point, it's going to fall off for him. And
Hmm.
I think a physical defense like the Bears that really stress takeaways, they got none last week, right? So they're pissed.
Yeah.
So I got a feeling they'll be out there punching at the ball. They're gonna try and get after Flacco. CJ Gardner Johnson's in the mix now. They got Tyreek Stevenson back. He's back off injury too. So they're getting a little healthier.
Hmm.
And I think they got enough. They got enough on defense to kind of slow down that offense, and enough on offense to kind of pull it out.
Man, what type of game does Caleb Williams have to go out there and perform for this victory that you speak of?
I see it kind of playing out kind of like the Cowboys game did. I mean, the Cowboys that have a really high scoring offense, but they just couldn't get on track because the Bears just kind of were doing their thing on offense themselves.
Hmm.
And I think it could be a shootout. I wouldn't be surprised, but like I said, I think it's going to be more run heavy. I think they're going to
Hmm.
want to just slow things down on the road. Pound away with Manungai. I mean, if he's getting 4 or 5 yards a clip, I think they may just keep running with it. We mentioned Travis Homer. I think Britton Brown comes up and gets some carries too. And if the running game is clicking, I think Ben Johnson's content just to kind of do it, pound it out, keep Jamar Chase off the field, and just win it that way.
Yeah. So Roshan he's out for
He's
sure.
out too. Yeah, he's out too. He's got that back. I think it's a back issue
Yeah,
right now.
he's
It's
dealing
missed
with
the
that
second
back
game in a row.
issue.
So
I think they get rid of him at the end of the year, right? What do you think?
I mean, he's pretty good special teamer. He's okay when he has the ball. The few times he's called on, he's seems like a pretty good short yardage guy. But he's just not explosive. I think I would not be surprised to see this running back room completely different next year, except for Manungai.
You think Swift's gone too then?
Yeah, I just think the way it looks, the way the money is, I think they could probably get out of that contract if they wanted to. So I think they'll explore possibly upgrading at that spot.
Hmm.
And if they like Manungai, if he keeps playing good as a rookie, I think obviously he'll be a core part going forward. But if they had a chance to draft a guy that projects to elite status, I think they do it.
Now, with the trade deadline vastly approaching in 3 days here,
Technical difficulties on Devon's side of things here, but for the trade deadline, I don't see the Bears buying. I don't really think they're going to sell either. I just think they kind of just might play it out, right? I mean, if something
hmm,
pops up, I think they'll listen. I think Ryan Poles may put a few feelers out there. He may make a couple players available if the price is right, but Braxton Jones went on IR, so teams needing a left tackle. That now they're kind of stuck because they can't. If they do trade for Jones, he's not available for another 3 weeks. And there's not really
hmm,
too many other assets on that team. I don't think DJ Moore gets moved, which is a lot of the buzz. I just don't see the point of it right now. Maybe in the offseason he gets moved, but right
hmm.
now in season, same with Cole Kmet. No point in moving him right now. He's a big part of Ben Johnson, what he wants to do. So I don't see anything happening. If it does, it'll be for a fringe, backup type player, maybe a pick swap. Like, here's our sixth pick, give us your seventh pick, and we'll take this player off your hands too. So, something like
Yeah.
that. Nothing big and exciting.
Okay, sounds good. Well, Lester, we greatly appreciate you having some time for us, man. We hope we could go on the road tomorrow and get this victory against Cincinnati and start bouncing back because we got the Giants after that, Steelers, and the Vikings. So let's see what we could do from here, young man. We greatly
Let's
appreciate your time, week in and week out, Lester.
let's start that other winning streak, right? It'll be fun.
Yes, sir. All right, Lester. We appreciate your time. We will be talking to you soon, sir.
Anytime, my friend.
Yes, sir.